sponsored by String Automotive and is titled Your Best BS Detector, Using Data to Calculate ROI and Create Accountability. Please welcome today's webinar presenters, Ken Kaloji, CEO, and Matthew Kaloji, Director of Analytics of String Automotive. Go ahead, guys.
All right. Well, Sarin, thank you so much, and Aaron, thanks as well. And of course, thanks to Dealer Communications for allowing us this platform. So we're going to go through about, it's going to be about 30 minutes, maybe 35 minutes through this presentation. I'll flip to the agenda in just a sec. We're going to discuss really Google Analytics focused presentation. So we will get into the weeds a little bit, but don't be scared. It's really not that bad. And of course, this is going to allow you to come out on the other side with some good actionable insights using Google Analytics to provide accountability and better actionable information from your digital marketing initiatives. So as Sarin said, my name is Ken Kaloji, CEO and founder of String Automotive. With me is Matt Kaloji, our Director of Analytics. And so to discuss the agenda for today's webinar, we'll go over very briefly who we are, who String Automotive is. We'll talk about the state of the industry right now with regard to data and being able to interpret that data. We'll go back in the future, so to speak, take a glimpse of tomorrow today. And then we're going to get into some Google Analytics pro tips. These are really some fundamental configuration items that you should do, some changes you should make to make sure that the data you're getting out of Google Analytics is as clean as possible. And then we're going to build out in real time 2 different reports. One is going to be more focused on the e-commerce side. It's a little bit more detailed. And the second one will be focused more toward a GM, a little bit more high level, more of a managerial report. We'll conclude and then we'll turn it over for Q&A. So a brief intro to String Automotive. So we have been in the industry since 2005. We're based just outside of beautiful but cold. We have been focused on the tier 3 level of the industry since day one. So really we've been focused on digital marketing solutions, really taking a data-based focus to digital marketing, hence our love of and focus on Google Analytics. And in fact, we're the only Google Analytics certified partner in the auto industry. And so really what it comes down to is we are driven by focusing on business intelligence and analytics to help dealers drive more sales and make more empowered decisions around their digital marketing and advertising. And so of course, that's part of the focus of this webinar today. So as we all know, the world is no longer flat, right? Thanks to the advent of the internet. We have many, many great vendors that exist in our industry, in the ecosystem, so to speak, of the auto industry, every single one of which performs a given function very, very well. And so in performing those functions very well, you generate a lot of data because, of course, we need outputs to be able to prove what is working and what isn't to allow us to make better decisions, right? So the beauty of the internet is that everything is trackable. The downside of the internet is that everything is trackable. And so that leads to an overwhelming amount of data and sources of data to manage. And so you can see in the slide, we've just put up a few good vendors that certainly we work with and many dealers work with. And these vendors, of course, generate their own reports, and it can become very, very complex very quickly to really get an idea of what is working and what's not when you're faced with all of these data outputs, reports from various vendors. I can't tell you how many GM, for example, GM offices I've been into, how many certainly e-commerce director offices I've been into, desks I've seen where you've got reports, paper reports, stacks of paper. I'm sure everyone on the call is familiar with this scene. Stacks of reports on desks, on cork boards, for example, and you close out the month and you say, okay, well let's get an idea of what worked and what didn't. And the process of compiling that information together to get a retrospective look of what worked in the previous month and what didn't work, where you might need to make adjustments, is very, very cumbersome. It takes a lot of time. There's often a lot of finger pointing. And so that process, unfortunately for managers, the state of the industry, the reality that we're living in today is that it makes accountability difficult for vendors and for employees, right? It makes it difficult to, not talking about pointing fingers, but really just being able to say, okay, well, we need to work more productively with this particular vendor or that particular employee, take advantage of certain opportunities, for example, that might be identified. It's very difficult to be able to do that. when you don't have a clear picture of what's working and what's not. And that speaks as well to the visibility or lack thereof. When the data exists in silos and can be defined inconsistently in terms of leads, for example. One provider might define a lead differently than another. What constitutes a web visitor? What's a unique visitor, et cetera, et cetera. Who gets credit for a sale? I mean, even that's one of the fundamental questions, right? So it becomes very difficult to gain good visibility into what's working and what's not. And of course, when you don't have clear accountability, you don't have clear visibility, it makes things very difficult. Makes it very difficult to take action and to gain insight and seize opportunities in your local market or even inside your own four walls. And so we're going to hop in the DeLorean, a little tongue-in-cheek slide here. We're going to say, well, wouldn't it be nice, though, given the issues that we've outlined, wouldn't it be nice to have the tools to not just see what happened, but to anticipate what will happen? I'll, of course, Minority Report with Tom Cruise. That's, of course, the goal, right? That's ultimately what we're trying to get to. And so even though we're not quite there today, there's no silver bullet. That's obviously just the way life works, of course, as well as in the auto industry. We do have tools to help us. So Google Analytics, of course, a free tool, the focus of this webinar. Hopefully everybody has this installed on their sites already. If not, then hopefully after the webinar you will have it installed on your website. It's great, third-party source to be able to provide a check and balance for reporting. And of course, it's the most used analytics tool, web analytics tool, I should say, on the planet. We're not going to go through R. That's the second piece of the equation I have outlined here, Google Analytics plus R. That's out of scope for this discussion, but it's a statistical modeling tool. And of course, the old-fashioned elbow grease. You combine those together, and then you get what we see down here, which are 3 visualizations that we've created over the last 6 or 8 months with actual data sets that we have or that clients have. And this is data that a lot of you guys have already. It's sitting in effectively silos. And it's just a matter of really not just getting the data out of the tools, but being able to look at it differently. And so our contention as a company is that it's not just data that will make you or break you, so to speak. It's that it's very, very important. It's critical, I would say, to be able to look at that data in a way that makes sense to us as human beings. We are all visual people, especially in an industry like the auto industry, where cars are such visual, tactile items. It's very, very important for us to be able to get a good understanding of data in a visual fashion. And so when we look at things a little bit differently, oftentimes we see dramatically different results than if we looked at them straight up from even Google Analytics, for example, or as a printout from ADP or Reynolds or what have you, the proverbial eye chart. So since we're on a webinar, I'm not going to, moving on to the next slide, I'm not going to ask the question of the group here. I'll just go through it. It's obviously a less interactive format. So this is actual data, it's a screenshot, literally, from Google Analytics based on web traffic data that we have that we saw from one of our client sites. And so this is, again, standard visualization that you get from Google Analytics. And you can start seeing some peaks and valleys. It looks like it's clearly time-based. You've got, this is from January, so the principles apply though. So we looked at this and we said, okay, well this is okay data. I mean, it's an interesting way of looking at it. It shows us a couple of different points, but what if we looked at it in a slightly different format? And so we said, okay, well let's plot this data with a heat map. So we looked at it with day of week on the left-hand side, the y-axis, so to speak, vertically stacked, and the hour of day on the top. And so this is actually, I said it's web traffic data, this is actually desktop computer usage. Visitors who are using desktops, not mobile devices, to access this particular dealer's site. And again, this pattern holds for every dealer site that I've ever looked at from an analytics perspective. And when we look at this, you see that the deep red areas, that indicates that there were more web visitors than in the cool blue or medium yellow areas, and greenish areas, more visitors to the website on that day of the week and at that hour of the day. So what this tells us, again, looking at the chart above, the time series above, the screenshot from Google Analytics, we say, okay, well, it's kind of interesting. It doesn't really tell us a lot. But when we look at it in this sort of a format, again, making the data visual, it becomes much more relevant to us. And we can instantly see that there's a key pattern, right? We see that the absolute hottest areas of traffic, the most traffic times and days of the week are during the work week for desktop visitors. And so I don't have the mobile version, the flip side here, but I can tell you that looking at the mobile traffic, so the same sort of data set, same website, same time period, the mobile traffic shows the exact opposite pattern. In other words, nights and weekends. And so what that would allow us to see immediately is to be able to say, okay, well, maybe we need to better optimize our PPC campaigns, for example. Maybe we have campaigns of one type that are geared or optimized for desktop traffic, and they're being displayed, because Google, of course, allows you good granularity into when you can show your ads, and of course to which devices and to where. So maybe we say, okay, based on these patterns, we're going to show mobile ads nights and weekends, or more frequently, I should say, and desktop ads during the work week, when everybody, of course, should be working, but instead they're booking service appointments, shopping for cars, et cetera, et cetera. So moving on to the next slide. Again, won't ask the question, but same sort of a data set. It's kind of a boring line graph. We've all seen a million of these. Less interesting than the one before. It's web visitors to a dealer site, but looking at it with a geoplot. So taking those same visitors, but plotting them by latitude and longitude, now all of a sudden we can start seeing very, very interesting patterns of where those visitors are coming from. And again, where we might want to start tailoring our advertising, both digital as well as traditional, or even where our traditional advertising dollars are driving traffic from, et cetera, et cetera. So when you start to look at data in a different format, that's when things become really interesting and really salient. So those two slides were simply to prove the point that our contention is that the more visual you can make things, the more relevant they become, the more interesting they become, and the more actionable they become. And so on that note, let's jump into Google Analytics. So we will certainly be building out a couple of visual reports. They won't be quite as nice as or shiny, I should say, as the visualizations that we just saw, but they'll be very, very actionable. And that, of course, is the key point here. So before we hop into the reports, as I mentioned, we're going to discuss 3 pro tips. So tip number 1, make sure you tag your traffic properly. And so first and foremost, that means make sure you're linking your AdWords, so your digital advertising data, to Google Analytics. And that way you get all of your advertising data, all of your PPC data and your SEM data flowing into Google Analytics. And so that way you can get much better insight into how much you're spending, what your cost per click is, how your campaigns are performing, et cetera, et cetera.
If I could just jump in here, Ken. This is hey everybody, it's Matt Code here. That's also really important because if you don't link your AdWords and analytics accounts and tag your paid search and display traffic properly, all of that traffic will be lumped in with your organic search traffic. And obviously that's going to make it look like your SEO is killing it when in fact, a lot of that traffic is actually coming from Show From Logic or whatever provider you might be using. So that's an important way to separate out your paid search traffic from your organic search.
Fantastic point. Do you want to take the other 3 points?
Yeah, sure. Building on that, Bing and Yahoo, obviously, if you're running ads on those search engines, which I'm sure a lot of you are, there's no way to link the accounts for between Google Analytics and your Bing advertising account. So what you have to do there is instead use a free tool that Google offers called the URL Builder to tag your links within your search ads. So all the destination URLs that you're using for your paid search, once they have those extra tracking parameters on the end of it, then Google can see that, okay, this is actually a pay-per-click visit coming from Bing or Yahoo, and it should not be lumped in with your organic traffic. Same goes for if you're running display or retargeting ads through platforms beyond AdWords, so retargeter platforms like that. You also need to tag your destination URLs for all of your ads. Otherwise, Google won't know quite how to make sense of it. They're going to end up lumping it into one of the other traffic channels. And then you'll have no way of differentiating that and seeing how that traffic is actually performing for you at the end of the day. And again, email marketing, use the Google URL Builder. It's a simple tool. Otherwise, all of your email marketing traffic is going to be lumped in with direct, or it's going to show up as referrals coming through, Gmail, Yahoo Mail, Hotmail, those kind of webmail services. And don't feel like you need to do all this yourself. All of your vendors will know how to do this. So just work with them, make sure that they know that you want to start tracking all of your traffic within Google Analytics and be able to separate it out. And that's not only going to help you to see the impact of that traffic and its effectiveness in terms of conversions and driving more value to your website, but also it'll help them do a better job too, because they can go in and see the effect of the traffic that they're sending, and they can see that, okay, maybe we need to tweak landing pages, tweak messaging, pick a different market to target, et cetera. So it's going to help both of you.
Great point. And we've actually seen a lot of cases where when you start making these adjustments, making these tagging adjustments and linking adjustments properly, I mean, it's night and day difference. I mean, decisions that were being made, by the dealer under the sort of old regime, if you will, of having, more of the general traffic and, not having the specifics, so to speak, become, again, the decisions that are made become much, much different afterwards, because you start to get a lot more detail and a lot more subtlety, and you realize, oh, geez, maybe one provider is driving a lot of value that I didn't think they were driving before. So very important. It's a case of garbage in, garbage out. So make sure that the garbage going in is of better quality than in the future than it is in the past. So second pro tip: set up goal completions, but choose wisely. Goal completions are it's really Google's fancy word of saying basically a lead or a conversion event. Okay, so Google gives you the Google Analytics platform is great because it gives you almost limitless flexibility into as to what you can mark as a conversion, but that's a slippery slope to go down, because when you start, it's one thing to say, hey, if someone submits a lead, someone submits a form, that should be counted as a conversion. But when you say, okay, anytime someone spends 10 seconds on a page on the site, then we're going to call that a conversion as well. Or anytime someone looks at 2 pages on the site, we're going to call that a conversion. Now you're starting to get into the area where you're clouding your data sets, because now all of a sudden your conversion rates are going to be through the roof, and you're going to say, wow, everything's working great, but really you're tracking things that maybe you shouldn't be focusing on tracking, at least not in the context of web conversions. So we recommend form submissions, of course. That's huge. Someone submitting an email lead. Mobile clicks to call. That's great if you have a responsive site. It's very easy to be able to throw some JavaScript in there. And again, as Matt said, your provider can do this for you, or should be able to do this for you. That way, if you're on a mobile device, responsive site, you're not redirected to a separate, M.dot or iPhone dot site. It's very, very easy. You have all your analytics coming in the same place, whether they're mobile or desktop. That way you get the full picture. And so you can track those phone call clicks when someone clicks on, presses their thumb on a phone call on the site.
And that's only going to become more and more important. I'm sure a lot of you have seen that, maybe email leads, form submissions generally are trending down, and on the flip side, mobile clicks to call are trending up. So having the ability to get some insight into that is only going to be more important as we move forward. And we're producing a series of blog posts, all about setting up goal completions for whether you're on Cobalt, Dealer.com, Bin Solutions, any of the sort of big players. We're going to try to tackle to help you make sure that you're setting up the right kinds of conversions. And also we even include a little section about how to get those mobile clicks to call to start appearing within Google Analytics. That's a little more of a process. You'll definitely have to involve your vendor with that, but I know that most are willing to help. And the more people who ask, the more likely they are to tweak things so that it's rolled out for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah. Exactly. Strength in numbers, right? Yeah. It's like back in middle school. So a couple of other types of goal completions, coupon printing, clicks for directions. Even though clicks for directions aren't hard conversions, they're not hard leads, so to speak, they're certainly conversion indicators. So if someone is obviously planning on driving into your store, I mean, you don't just click for directions if you're just poking around necessarily. So anyway, so tip number 2, setting up goal completions properly is going to help you out with conversion rates and really getting a handle on that. And of course, we're going to see in one of the reports, this is something that's really, really cool, a neat feature of Google Analytics. We're going to show how setting up goal completions or conversions properly in Google Analytics and tying a dollar amount to those conversions can lead to some incredibly interesting insights. So we're going to get to that next, but last pro tip. So segment. obviously we're bullish on this point. Otherwise, we wouldn't have done a Tora style repetition here. But it's really important to segment your traffic. And what that means is that if you're looking at all of your web traffic as a whole, you're going to be missing out on a lot of subtlety. It's just like the first tip where we said tag your traffic properly, right? So if you're not tagging your PPC properly or your email campaigns properly, et cetera, you're going to lose all of that detail around what effectiveness your email campaigns, for example, are having. So the same thing holds with reading the reports with segmenting different types of traffic, because if you're, for example, lumping mobile traffic in with desktop traffic, you can see right here, point 3A, we say that mobile traffic does not equal desktop traffic. I mean, we saw a visualization that very clearly made the point that desktop traffic behaves, in fact, in almost an exact opposite pattern for mobile traffic when it comes to time of day that people go on a dealer site. And so if you're not looking at mobile traffic separately from desktop traffic, then you're missing out on a lot of subtlety that could really help you optimize your digital marketing and even traditional advertising decisions. And so second point, another just quick point on the segmentation, make sure you separate branded organic traffic from other organic traffic. And this was very similar to Matt's point about, again, if you don't tag your PPC properly, it's going to look like SEO is absolutely destroying it out there. Same thing holds if you're not separating out your branded organic traffic from your other organic traffic. Again, you're going to be giving undue credit to SEO efforts and not enough credit to your traditional advertising. And so the idea is, just to explain very quickly, branded traffic. What that means is if you're running a Toyota dealership called Anytown Toyota, if I'm a consumer, if I'm a car shopper and I go to Google and I type in Anytown Toyota and hit search, and then I hit your site, yes, it is true that I am coming organically through Google, but I am not I'm typing in your dealership's name because chances are I have seen an ad, right? Traditional media, even branding efforts on digital advertising, heard a radio ad. I just know that you're my local dealership, so I always go to you guys to get service, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm really just going to Google rather than typing in anytowntoyota.com in the search bar in the browser and then going directly. That would be direct traffic. I'm going to Google, typing in Anytown Toyota, and then going to your site, which we consider branded traffic. And so because that is such a strong reflection of your brand presence and your traditional advertising activities and traditional marketing activities, we do not consider that to be quote unquote true organic SEO.
Yeah, because SEO is really a big piece of it is acquiring new visitors who aren't already familiar with your brand through search engines, right? Not already grabbing to someone who's already heard your name on a radio ad or a TV ad or whatever it might be. So that's why we like to call that out separately, really because it's tied more toward, as Ken was saying, the traditional efforts.
Exactly. So to that precise point, Matt, this will lead us to having better SEO visibility. And then ultimately, all of these essential tips, it's like, again, building, I can't stress how important these things are. I know it might seem complex, but again, we have some blog posts to help you through it. Your vendors will absolutely help you through it, or should absolutely help you through this. It's going to lead to more actionable information for you and for your vendors, as Matt pointed out earlier. So it's the foundation upon which the rest of the house is built. And if you don't have a good foundation, you will not have a sturdy house.
Yeah. It's going to give you that at a glance. You can just log into GA, Google Analytics that is, and just see right away what's working for you and what isn't. It's going to make that sort of what was before very confusing out of the box. Everything's kind of lumped together and you don't know what's going on. As you start building it out, separating your traffic, creating your goals that have values tied to them, separating out your branded search traffic, et cetera, all of a sudden you can really get a feel for what's working for you digitally.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to make what we're about to show you with the reports much more easy or easily implementable. Mm-hmm. So a quick note on ROI. So again, I mentioned in the last slide that we're going to show you how to add a dollar amount per conversion or per goal completion into Google Analytics, right? So this is just a quick, very, very simplified, okay? Again, your mileage may vary and probably will vary. These are just round numbers so that everybody can see the math run straight through. So we worked out a very, very simple equation on how to calculate your value per lead. In other words, the value that is generated for you per lead. So let's look at the email leads, right? So if your average closing rate, sales rate for an email lead coming from your site is 10%, so you sell cars on 1 out of every 10 email leads coming from your site. And let's just say, again, round numbers, you're averaging $1,000 gross on a new car and $1,500 gross on a used car. Well, you multiply that straight through, so 10% of 1,000 is $100, and 10% of $1,500 is $150. So therefore, you could say that the value per VDP page, vehicle details page, form submission is $100 on a new car or $150 on a used car. And so we'll use this math when we generate the reports in a second to show you exactly how that fits in and how that can really show you some interesting goal values and per visit goal values. And so this is a screenshot of the report. We're going to go live, as I like to say. We're going to do it live, and this is a screenshot of the report we're going to build in GA. So you can see right here. This is the just to give you sort of a high-level overview. You have your sources. These are traffic sources on the left. So from AutoTrader all the way down to wheels.theadvocate.com. You see Facebook in there, DealerRater, et cetera, et cetera. And so you'll see column by column, left to right, you have unique visitors, right? That's pretty standard. How many people, so to speak, they brought to your site? How many, what percentage of those visitors were new, they haven't returned? The bounce rate per traffic source. The conversion rate. Again, this is not new, but it's getting into some some good actionable territory here. Conversion rate per source. In this case, we're looking at secondary form submission, right, which we were talking about before in terms of the value we ascribe to a form submission. And then you see 2 new columns, the 2 right-hand columns, goal value and per visit goal value. So that's where things really get interesting, and that's frankly my favorite part of the entire report, just because it brings something new to the table. And the fact that it's all here in one neat drillable format is pretty exciting. So we're actually saying, hey, if a lead is $20, for example, or $100, an email lead from the site, how much value, dollar value, did each one of these sources bring to the table? And so then, of course, you can use that to calculate ROI, because you're going to know what you've spent on, AutoTrader, Cars.com, et cetera, et cetera. Now, grain of salt, and then we're going to jump into it. I want to make clear that I'm not proposing that the only value that sites like AutoTrader and Cars.com, DealerRater, et cetera, bring to the table is simply web traffic to your site. That's not what they're built to do. Obviously, AutoTrader, Cars.com, they're meant to generate branding awareness, generate leads, so on and so forth. DealerRater, of course, great review site, so on and so forth. So, their primary function is not to generate traffic to the site. So, you always have to take this with a grain of salt, of course, and make sure that you're matching up your expectations from a given provider to what the results actually are. So for some, this might be, in this case, this might be icing on the cake, right? It's just added value that AutoTrader, Cars, DealerRater are bringing to the table. So let's go, let's break out here and go live. So Matt, I'll hand the controls over to you so you can show us how to build this report out.
So before we get into the report, I'm just going to take a quick minute to show you how to create a goal within Google Analytics. For this example, this is a dealer.com site. We've helped set up and configure their analytics. So all the goal conversion setup is contained within the admin tab right here on the top right of the nav bar. And you'll see it under goals. It's that flag. And you click it open. And so as you can see, we've already set up a number of goals for this client, but I'll just go through how to create a goal that tracks form submissions to, coming from new vehicle details pages. So you just hit the create a goal button. We're going to go with a custom goal. We're going to name this new VDP form submissions. It's a destination type goal because once someone submits an email lead form, they're taken to a thank you page, so to speak. And then we're going to switch the destination type to regular expression. And again, because this is dealer.com, it follows a specific format. Depending on your website provider, it will be different. And so there we've set it up so that only those landing on the confirmation page coming from a new details page will be tracked. Now we're going to hit the value slider to on here. And this is where we get into what Ken was talking about, where we're setting up a particular dollar value for a new vehicle details page form submission. So in this case, we're just going to do 100 just to keep it nice and round from that example. Hit the verify goal. As you can see, there looks like just 1 or 2 form submissions in the past 7 days, but at least we know that is set up correctly. And then you hit create goal, and that's it, and it's done. And then from that point onward, you'll start to have that really nice salient dollar value data coming through on any form submissions that you have. I'm going to discard this.
So this is effectively a sort of a one and done thing, right?
Exactly.
Once you set it up once, you can create reports using this. You don't have to redo it every time, right?
Exactly.
Awesome.
And so now to get into that report that Ken was just showing here, I'll just show you again what it looks like. They only have analytics from the past couple of weeks, so that's why there's not a whole lot of data here. But as you can see, it starts at very high level traffic types. So we have organic, paid, referral. That's where all the social traffic would be, all the cars.com, auto trader, etc., as well as direct. And then if they were running email marketing, it would appear here under email. So this is a very high level snapshot view of how each of your digital channels are performing. And we've sort of tried to mimic the funnel. So it's, again, acquiring visitors, unique visitors and new visits. Then are they sticking around on the site, bounce rate? Are they converting, conversion rate? And then what does that mean for your bottom line? So the different goal values at the end of the day. And so we're going to show you how to create that. And for that, this is all housed under the customization tab in the nav bar. Any custom reports are all going to be housed there. And we're going to hit a new custom report. And we're going to call this attribution ROI report. And this is where we're going to start. Each metric is one of the columns within the custom report. So these are the numbers that we're interested in. So unique visitors, so anything that can be defined by basically like by a hard number or percentage, anything like that. Exactly. Bounce rate.
So not a keyword, for example, in other words. Or
no,
not a traffic source, anything that you'd use, words for.
Exactly, the description, yeah. Those are dimensions, which will come in the green boxes below.
Okay.
So now we're on to goal value, which is the total value that each source is bringing, and then the per visit goal value to show you, maybe one traffic type brought 1,000 visitors, but the per visit goal value for each of those guys was only $0.01 because they only had a few conversions, whereas someone who drove several conversions based on only a handful of visits, that's a channel you may want to invest more in. So here we go with start at the high level with traffic type, and then within each of these dimensions, you can click within to drill down deeper. So we want to go with source after traffic type, and we'll go with campaign. And then finally, we'll end with landing page, because that's also something to keep a close eye on, particularly as far as bounce rates go. And then just like that, it's done. And it's ready-made for you right here, and you can dive into any of these different traffic types, and we can organize it by per visit goal value, so you can see organic and referral are performing best for these guys. You can dive into the referral and see, which of the referring sites is driving the best. Looks like the OEM site, KiaDealers.com, is doing well for them. Their portal site, Chambly Football, etc.
And so the thing that blows my mind about this, so just to sort of put it in the 30,000-foot view, if you will, so if you're looking at pure unique visitors, right? If you're looking at referral sites or PPC campaigns or what have you, if you're looking at it just by the amount of traffic that is driven to your site by those sources, you're losing a lot of that detail around the actual value that they're bringing, the quality, the relevance of that traffic, because it's not just like in the rest of life, right? It's not just quantity, it's quality. And so Matt brought up a great example here. The Atlanta.KiaDealers.com website, the OEM site, or maybe the tier 2 site there, it only brought 7 people over the last 30 days?
Not even 2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks. Okay, yeah, 2 weeks, right? So, so all new visitors, et cetera, et cetera. So only 7 people hit the site from that, but their per visit goal value was the highest. So, effectively, based on that $100 per VDP submission, we can say that for that limited sample size, each visit brought about $8 per visitor to the site. And from the portal site, that's the second highest. So 5 times more visitors. Yet the per visit goal value was less. And so you look down a little bit. So this is looks like probably retargeting here at doubleclick.net, 26 visitors. but none of them converted. And, you know, again, like I was saying earlier, you have to match that up with your expectations, because retargeting is often a branding exercise, right? They're not low funnel customers, so you don't necessarily expect them to convert all the time. And so you might say, okay, well, none of them converted, so there's $0 for the double-click stuff. Well, that's what I was expecting. But if you're expecting people to convert, you know, maybe it's a lower funnel initiative, so to speak, then $0 per visit would be disconcerting, and it would allow you to now have some actionable information to be able to say, okay, I need to get my provider on the phone. Let's work through this together as a partnership.
So this is the next report that we're going to build for you guys. This is the GM dashboard, we like to call it. So this is a more high level, a little more visual. It's a little cleaner. Everything's in nice little widgets. And this just basically takes a higher level view of the total website value, the different value that's being driven by your digital channels. So again, this is almost that highest level of the custom report, but it's distilled into just one clean little box here. And then beyond that, we've also gone and added 2 new widgets for the top new vehicles and the top used vehicles, where you can not only see the number of VDPs, unique VDPs for all of these different vehicle types, but also the page value. So this is where things get interesting, because you know, you can see that there were a lot of visits to the new Jeep Wrangler Unlimited, but it looks like there's probably only one form submission or mobile click to call or something like that from all of those visits. Whereas you know, a vehicle like the Ram 2500, only 117 page views, but it looks like it had much higher conversion on those vehicles. So that's, you know, right away you can see that, you know, while VDP views are a great way to see what's getting you know, a lot of looks, you know, what you really are concerned about is who's actually converting, you know, and what kind of vehicles are actually bringing in the dollars.
Oh, exactly. I mean, think about from a, you know, I mean, I guess to bring it back to a sort of a more traditional standpoint, it'd be like, you know, for example, this new Jeep Wrangler Unlimited, right? It's, you know, sitting on your lot. It's, you know, there are 727 people. So, you know, sort of the old school mentality, right? You know, back in the pre-internet days. So you've got a car sitting on your lot. It's gotten a lot of people, right, walking by, checking it out, but only one person has actually asked to test drive it. And so, you know, that's a big problem. So what's the issue? Is the price too high? We're instantly highlighting that this particular vehicle needs to be checked out. Maybe it's dirty. Maybe it's, you know, I don't know. You know, maybe it hasn't been, you know, recon properly, or, geez, you know, it's, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So this would instantly highlight that, wow, this, you know, this Jeep Wrangler Unlimited is getting a ton of eyeballs. And in this case, of course, in the digital age, it's getting a lot of, you know, virtual eyeballs, so to speak, but nobody is converting on that car. And so you'd instantly be able to say, oh my God, you know, let's take action on this. It's something you could probably fix in real time, whether it's, you know, bad photos, whether it's, you know, maybe adjust the price or what have you. Clearly people want to look at this car, but for whatever reason, they're not biting. And so there's probably something you can do very simply at zero cost, just a, you know, a few minutes of somebody's time to correct that problem, rather than have all these people who are checking it out just, you know, as lost opportunities. So again, that dollar value, adding that in, bringing it down to dollars and cents, brings a totally different perspective. So, all right, Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll just go really quickly how to build a custom dashboard. And just so you guys know, those blog posts that I mentioned, as well as showing you how to set up goal conversions for you know, a number of different website providers, we also actually have links to these ready-made custom reports and dashboards that we've talked about in this webinar. All you have to do is just click through on the links, select the Google Analytics profile that you want to attach it to, and right away you'll have this there for you. There won't be the dollar values until you set up the goals and put the you know, the appropriate values within those goals, but at least they'll be there. And then as soon as you set up those goals, within a couple of weeks, you'll start to see this gorgeous you know, dollar value data coming into your reports, and it'll just make decisions a lot easier. And you know, yeah,
that's how we roll around here.
Yeah.
So we haven't just, Matt, that's awesome. We have not just shown you how to cook the turkey, so to speak. We've actually pretty much cooked the turkey for you. So.
Yeah, because I know it can be, you know, again, this stuff's kind of in the weeds, so to speak, so it can be tough to you know, to dive right in and set all this up yourself. But let me show you how to do it, just in case, for the more adventurous types who want to start creating these dashboards. They're great. They're visual. Again, we like them because they're high level, and they're they're easily exportable to PDF and emailed out to any sort of decision makers you have on your team who might need to see the the total value of your website, etc. So these we moved from the customization tab to the reporting tab, and you'll see it right here under My Stuff, the dashboards section, and you can click the plus new dashboard button, and we're just going to call this dashboard for webinar. Create dashboard, and right away you're brought to the add a widget menu. So we're going to call this first widget total website value, and this is going to basically sum up all the dollar values collected from all the different goal conversions that you have configured. And we're just going to select the metric goal value, and right away it's done. So that's one that's all set for you. Now we're going to move on to we're going to switch this to the table view, because we want to look at a couple of different columns of metrics set against several rows of traffic types. So we're going to call this value by digital channel, and we're going to select traffic type because that's the highest level view we can take of your various channels. And then we're going to, for the metrics, we're going to pick per visit goal value as well as the total goal value. And there we go, and that's that set for you. And you can drag and drop the widgets in any way you want. You can also hit the Customize Dashboard button here on the top right to select the different layout options. If you plan on emailing these, I highly recommend either just the 50/50 or the 100%. Otherwise, things tend to get very crowded if you have more than two columns. So let's do one more widget to show you how to do top new vehicles. So this is going to be a table again. And we're going to look at, because this particular website, the cleaner way to display the URLs of all the different vehicles is housed under the page path level 3. We're going to pick that as the dimension, and then we're going to look at unique page views, just so you can get that nice, easy, quick snapshot of your VDPs. But then we're going to go a little deeper and get that page value to really see what's the most valuable vehicle, not just in terms of the popularity, but also in terms of people converting. Oops, and I forgot to set up the two. We also need to filter out. So we need this to only show pages containing vehicle ID. That way it'll limit it to just your VDPs. We want to only show new VDPs. And there we go. And then basically we're just going to take this same widget, we're going to clone it, see the clone widget button right down here, but we're just going to edit it so that we're focusing only on used. So we're going to change the name to top used vehicles, change this right down here to used, and there it is, done. And just like that, you have a nice dashboard that the GM can look at and see at a glance how the website's performing in terms of the dollars, what your various digital channels are doing for you, as well as what the best inventory is, on the lot. Awesome, Matt, fantastic job. These are great reports, very, very good reports. So let's kick the presentation off again. So that was the meat of the presentation. So I'm just going to wrap up here. So again, what we've seen barely scratches the surface, right? These are two very, very useful, very, very actionable reports that we have showed you. I will say I love Google Analytics as a tool. We use it all the time. Everybody should really be using this as part of their digital marketing strategy to evaluate how things are going, to make decisions, so on and so forth. But the downside is that GA, as we call it, GA is not a very visual tool. And of course, we have done a lot of work ourselves in trying to make that data more visual, make it more relevant. We're just not, sometimes tables, spreadsheets, they are absolutely the right tool for the job, but other times we feel like they're not necessarily the best fit. So being able to really start experimenting with different visualizations, taking things to the next level, like we showed you before. This has been a big focus of ours in 2013. And so, as I mentioned, with a little bit of elbow grease and some open source tools and some moxie, so to speak, you can certainly accomplish some of this yourself.
And so for us, it's really, really gets really, really interesting when when you start to actually make things visual, make things actionable, make things simple. And so so hopefully you have thanks for bearing with us. Thanks for listening. Hopefully you've gained some good insight out of this webinar. As Matt mentioned, we have blog posts showing how to do all this, so don't feel like you need to be taking screenshots or rapidly scrambling to write all this stuff down. We also have those 2 reports effectively ready-made, assuming that you do the 5 yards of carrying the ball up the field and building out the adding that conversion, so to speak, that goal completion. And then this data can be yours as well. So I'll turn it back over to the dealer communications crew. Thanks very much.
That was a great webinar, guys. We're going to go into a little bit of a Q&A now. I already have a couple of questions that have come through. This question is from Chris. Through Google Analytics or other Google tools, is it possible to grab our site viewers' email addresses? We know 80% plus of our traffic, our site flows through Google. So is there a good way to capture lead information other than direct prospect interaction with us?
So is there a good way to capture visitor email information rather than
Correct.
Someone directly interacting? That I think Google and the NSA would probably love that. Unfortunately, there's not. So okay, let me give you 2 different answers, because the short answer is no. There's no easy way to do that. The longer answer is there are companies out there that have a broad reach, so to speak, both in terms of tracking cookies, being able to tie online interaction. So if somebody does interact directly, as the question stated with the website, you can, for example, get tie an email address into a particular visitor's unique ID through a cookie. And if you have enough visibility across enough sites online, you can start to actually track that person across different sites. And so the easy answer is no. If you don't have that visibility, it's not it's just not possible, and that's thanks in part to the anonymity of the internet. But the longer answer is that you can definitely start tying those things together, the cookie of a user, the unique identifier of a user, with an email address and other information, if you had visibility into when they submitted that information. So
yeah, I'd say that just about sums it up. I mean, Google Analytics is getting a little more robust in terms of giving you information beyond just who visited, where do they, what city are they in, and what were the traffic sources that they used to visit your site, et cetera. I mean, between the multi-channel funnel reports, as well as they're rolling out new demographic information. So basically, if you have to make a one-line change to the Google Analytics tracking code on your site. But once you've done that, in a few weeks, you'll start to see age and gender and basically all the information that they have on your visitors that they've been able to accumulate through whenever they're logged into their Gmail account and they make a search, or the various ads that they've clicked on, the YouTube videos that they've watched. I know they read all the Gmail emails, so they probably have, between all of that, they have a pretty good idea of what every one of your visitors likes, is into, the age, how much money they make, et cetera. And those, you'll start to see more of that data coming into Google Analytics. So, like Ken said, short answer, no, you can't really get their email address, but, with a little bit of digging, you can certainly find out a fair bit about them.
Okay. The next question is from Brad. How do you separate branded organic traffic from other now that Google is encrypting all organic keywords?
That's a great question. So basically, it's going to be harder because, as Brad said, there's no more organic keyword data coming through from GA. You still get it from Bing, Yahoo, Ask.com, AOL, all the other search engines. So it's still there, and it's still worth separating out. As well as coming through for paid. And it's still coming through for paid. So all the paid search traffic, again, a bit of a stickier situation because I know some dealers want to keep all of their paid traffic in one bucket as opposed to separating out the branded paid traffic from within that. So, it's still, you can still do it and you can still take out a bunch of that traffic that should not be attributed to SEO, but but Brad's right, it's going to be harder and harder going forward, especially if Microsoft and Yahoo decide to start encrypting searches as well.
Okay, great. Next question is from Casey. Can you do a quick demo on how to track email campaigns?
Sure. Yeah, I guess I can. Here we go. Well, let me show you that the URL builder I was talking about. So this is, you can just Google for the Google URL builder, and the very first link is the the tool itself, and it's very simple. So let's say your site is anytowntoyota.com.
Popular.
They're a hot site. And then basically all you need to do is hit the source. So let's say you're using, CityTwist is your email provider, and the medium would be email. And then if you want, and I recommend this, you can also name the campaign so that, if you send out multiple marketing emails within the same month or the same quarter, or whatever it might be, you can tell them apart. So let's say this is a Thanksgiving sale, something, and then you hit the submit button, and right there, that's the link that you need to use within your marketing emails so that that traffic will be called out as email. And then when you look in your channels report within the acquisition, it'll show up here as another one. It'll be, in this list here, but as a separate called out section. And that way it's not lumped in with your direct and your referral traffic. So you don't have to go digging around trying to find that traffic. It'll be right there for you to see front and center. Obviously all the links within the email need to be tagged. So, and if it's not going to the homepage, it's going to a special, your service coupons or whatever it might be, make sure that URL is updated, hit submit, and then just use the links that it provides right down here. And that's basically it. Like I said, it takes a few minutes. Your email marketing providers will definitely know about this and know how to do this. So just ask them to start doing it, and they'll make sure it gets done.
Okay, and this is the last question. It is from Joe. Can you show the value per lead calculation again?
Sure, of course, yeah. Let's go back to there we go. Oops, sorry. Animations. There we go. So this is a slide that we showed. So again, just to go through very, very quickly, and again, your mileage may vary, right, and probably will vary. So it's whatever you've calculated, from your CRM system, for example, so on and so forth, or your own internal calculations, what your average closing rate, meaning, actually selling a car from an email lead, for example, that comes through. So, in this case, we just use 10%, and then you'd multiply 0.1 or 10% by whatever your gross is on average per vehicle. So if it's $1,000, you'd say, okay, I'm going to multiply 10% times 1,000, and that would give you $100.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. There are no more questions this time, so we're going to go ahead and end the webinar. Just to let everyone know, the webinar has been recorded and will be available later this afternoon on ddwebinars.com. If you would like the slides, you can get in touch with Ken or Matt, and I'm sure they would be happy to send those to you. And other than that, we have another webinar next week, and we hope to see you there. Thanks,
Ken and Matt. Can I mention very, very quickly that
Sure.
We will be hosting, so at NADA, if you guys are interested in more content like this, we will be hosting an event called Big Data and the Big Easy. So, that's on the Thursday before NADA starts. So again, a lot of really rich content around how to make data actionable and visual. We have Matt and myself speaking again. We have Jason Ezel from Dadium speaking. I believe we have someone from RL Polk speaking. And I think we have a couple other people that we're trying to line up. So it's basically a full afternoon. It's heavy on the education, light on any sort of pitches or anything like that. We're really focused on trying to make sure that you guys have as much information as possible to be well armed. And so you can go to the link there to check it out if you'd like to sign up. And otherwise, last thing, and this does fall under the slightly pitchy category, we have done a lot of productizing of a lot of this information. And if anyone is interested in checking out a quick demo of the product that we have built out that does a lot of this heavy lifting for you, you can go to stringautomotive.com/demo. So thanks so much, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.